Welcome to today's meeting. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me. It's an exciting day today, I think, for all of us, because as you guys have gone through the other modules, this is the last one. So I think that you'll be really happy with your progress. I know that I am, and I'm really proud that we've been able to go through this, and I think that you guys will be really happy at the end. So again, for this meeting, as you guys know, on the left-hand side of your screen, you have your chat window. Go ahead and type in any kinds of questions that you may have, and then, or if you'd like to ask a question, you can unmute your microphone and ask it, but please mute it after your question so we don't get any feedback. Today's class is Healthy, Beautiful Hair, High Lift and Tint Back Seminar. So we're going to be talking about how to take our customers and make them blonde, and then also how to take our customers and bring them back down to natural browns. I know that you guys are doing a lot of this now, so this will mostly be explanation of exactly how it's happening and why, and then also a lot of tips on how to get the end result that you'd like. So as always, we start with a little bit of explanation. Someone asked the other day, how come the sun tans your skin, but it lightens your hair? And I never really thought about it in that term, but it's kind of funny, right? Your skin gets darker, your hair gets lighter. The reasoning really has to do with the different kinds of things that skin and hair are. The sun destroys the melanin in your skin, and so it starts to damage the skin. And since the skin is alive, it responds by producing more and more melanin and getting it to the skin, so which in turn makes the skin darker. On the other hand, since your hair is dead, right? The sun basically bleaches out and destroys the melanin in the hair, giving it a lighter and lighter appearance. And since the hair that's already grown out of your head is not alive like your skin, there's no way for the body to reproduce that melanin and get it into the hair. Now, why is that important, right? When you talk about lightening the hair and darkening the hair, you're really just trying to mimic the sun's actions with your formulations. So when you're lifting, you're trying to make it lighter, and you know that in order to make it lighter, you have to take out the melanin or take out the pigments in the hair. And then when you're going to darken it, since the hair is not alive and the body can't put the melanin or the pigments back into the hair, you have to put that back into the hair with your formula. Okay? So we'll start on high lifts and then move seamlessly into the tint backs. So please, if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the left-hand side. Now, we always want to remember our natural hair levels, right? And one of the things that we need to remember is that all of our natural hair levels are just different variations of the color brown. So whether we are trying to get a level 1 or a level 10, it's really just a lighter or darker version of a brown color. Okay. Now, when you think of neutral brown is made up of equal parts of blue, red, and yellow, right? And so when you're formulating your colors, you know that based on how much of each of these primary colors you put into your formula, you're going to get a variation. Now, the interesting thing is that when you are when you are lifting your clients, right? What starts to happen is you still have blue, red, and yellow, but as you start to lift them, either with bleach or with high lift color or higher volumes of peroxide, the different percentages of color start to go away, and you get into a situation where as I'm lifting my level 1 into my browns, I'm starting to lose all of my blue pigment, and I'm being left with a little bit of blue and a lot of red and orange. I'm sorry, a lot of red and yellow. So what that's giving me is a brown color, but with a lot of orange undertone. And that continues as I lift into my blondes. I'm getting stuck with a lot of yellow-orange undertone. Now I'm still brown, but the desired result that I'm getting just by lifting out with either lightening powder or with color is going to be very, very warm because of all the underlying pigment that's left. And then when you get into your blondes, your high blondes, you're going to get strong yellow undertone, which isn't necessarily what your customer wants. And then working all the way into platinum or gray, where you've kind of taken everything out. Just like the sun, you've taken out all of that pigment from the hair. Now, you guys have always seen these in your career, and it's the remaining pigment contribution, right? So these are the colors that are left over after you have started lifting the hair. The problem with the remaining pigment that arises for stylists is that a lot of times stylists don't take the remaining pigment into account when they start to formulate their color. So let's say they don't take into account that they're going to have red underlying pigment, and they just use a level 5 natural. That level 5 natural that they use and that they lift into is going to be very, very warm. Same thing would happen if I had, let's say, a level 1 or a level 2, and I used an 11 series with 60 volume in there. I'm not going to get to platinum on that first application, but I'm going to lift into some really, really warm 4s, 5s, and 6s. And if I don't take that into account when I'm formulating, I'm going to get results that I really don't want. Okay. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can counteract. Number one is using our amplifier series. And it's real simple to use the amplifier series by picking out specifically what amplifier is going to counteract the results that I'm having. Okay. When you look at levels 4 through 11, you're going to see that it's mostly green and blue. And based on how warm that underlying pigment is, you're going to add more of the green amplifier or the blue amplifier to your formulation. So, for example, if I'm trying to counteract the red underlying pigment that I see in a level 5, I may use up to a 1/4 ounce of the 37 green amplifier. But if I'm trying to counteract the red orange or the orange I see in level 6 or 7, I might use 1/8 of an ounce of the green amplifier. So depending on how strong that underlying pigment is, that tells you how much more of an amplifier you need to use. Now, that amplifier that you're using, you can use that with our high lift series, or you can also use that with your regular color formulations, depending on exactly what you're trying to do. I know you guys have seen this chart before from the other seminars that we've done, and it's in your color book. And this chart is really something that is really invaluable to have in the salon. To have something like this in the salon, maybe posted in the back or readily available in the book, is really, really important, because you can always check and see what is going to counteract unwanted warmth, or what is going to amplify that unwanted warmth. And I think you guys know how to read this. The first line is going to be the level. The line that's marked in black that says remaining pigment, that will tell you what pigment is left over at that specific level. And then you have a layer on top that tells you how to amplify that remaining pigment, and the one at the end is how to neutralize or counteract that remaining pigment. I think you guys are doing a lot of this already, so that's pretty good. That's a great question, Haley. You know, because Haley's question, if you guys can't see it, is: have you thought about making a guideline of by level of how much amplifier to use, say to totally counteract the remaining pigment? And what we try to do is set like a guideline, but I think that one of the things that you've probably learned in your career is that nothing is exactly the same with every client. And so the easiest way that we can explain it is based on your client that you have in the chair. You have the ability to modify your formula based on how remaining pigment is going to be for that client. So for myself specifically, like when you put an 11.2 and 60 formula on my hair gets really, really warm, right? Really warm. And so for me, I'm going to lead a lot more of the 37 green amplifier in my formula than, let's say, my mother. And my mother has almost the same color hair that I do, but she is not as warm when you lift her. She's a lot cooler, so she's going to need a lot less. So even though we're starting off at the same level and trying to get to the same level, just our own specific hair type will change the way that we need to formulate. And so that's why you know, doing test samples inside foils is really important. And I think that this is one of the things too that I think you guys have probably noticed as you've gone through your training, right? Not just with us, but with other color lines as well. There are things that are, let's say, the rules that you get when you first start using the hair color. And they tell you, okay, X, Y, and Z is the formula you use for this client. What you start to realize is that, yes, that's the formula to use, and yes, it gives you a certain result, but it may not be necessarily the result that you would like or that your client would like based on your eye and your aesthetic, right? We were having this conversation last week when I talked to Ginny on the phone, and she was saying that, you know, in her formulas that she had done for the last module, she had moved her clients over from whatever color they were on before, figured out the conversions, then modified them a little. Then as she did them, she started realizing, oh, I can add a little more of this, and it's going to give me a little more of what I'm looking for. And I think that that's what's important to realize, not only when you're creating colors, but also when you are trying to lift or trying to dye back. And what's important about what's on the screen now is our primary tones, right? You guys have these probably memorized by now. You know exactly, you know, what you need to use, but they're really like a secret weapon when you think about counteracting your warmth or enhancing your warmth with your color choices. Okay. Now our 11 series, it comes in quite a few different shades, from 11.0, 11.1, 11.2, 11.23, all the way to 11.53. And based on where you're at in the level system and what you're trying to do, and also based on the color of your client's hair, you're going to use those 11s in different ways. Always with the 60 volume to get the maximum amount of lift. You can use it with 50. You can also use it with 40. We have some clients that use it with a double 40, so very similar to probably the way that you use double 40 in other color lines. So it's basically going to give it more of a boost. But if you're in that situation, we would definitely recommend that you use the 11.2 or the 11 series with the 60 volume, and that's going to give you the maximum amount of lift. Okay. So before we get into the formulas, let's take a look at the way that the formulas are set up, okay? Now this is the formulas that are inside the bottle, so the color itself, right? When you look at, let's say, formula for a very dark shade, the percentage of alkalinity that you're going to get is low, and the percentage of pigment that you're going to get is at its highest. So what that means is that this color is going to deposit more than lift. So when you're using your lower level colors to try and lift into something, it's going to be a lot harder than if you used a higher level and used your amplifiers or your color selection to tone out. So, for example, let's say I am a level 2 and I want to lift into a level 5. Could I use, let's say, a level 5 with the high volume developer in order to lift into that range? Totally can. There's going to be warmth, and it's going to be harder to lift in there. Now, could I also use a 10 or an 11 series at that level with the 60 volume to lift higher and counteract my warmth with my amplifiers to lift into a level 5? I totally can, and it's probably going to be a lot easier to lift into that level. Now, the control is going to be a little more difficult. So my color selection is going to be really important. What amplifiers I put in is going to be really important. But I'm going to be able to lift a lot easier than lifting with like a level 5. So just so that we can, if you guys have any questions, please let me know on the left side. If you look at your red shade formulations, again, this is the red in the bottle. You see that the alkalinity has gone up, but the amount of pigment in there has gone down. Because now we don't have any more of those blue pigments in there, right? We've got the reds and the yellow pigments and a lot more red. So we've lost a lot of the pigments, but we've also gained a lot more alkalinity. So that's going to allow us to lift a little easier. We'll see a formula later where we put highlights into red hair, and I think that you'll see that how this all makes sense. Now, when you look at our lightest shades in like our level 11s, the amount of pigment that is in our high lift series is very, very minimal. You're talking about 61 thousandths of a percent that's in there, right? So what that means is there's not a lot of pigment in there that's going to be able to counteract. See, the alkalinity is a lot. So this is why these shades, 10s and 11s, are used to lift, but they might not necessarily be the best to use when you're toning, or when you have warmth at the end of your process and you want to tone down. Because if you try and tone with a level 11 or try and tone with a level 10, there may not be enough pigment in there to counteract the warmth you have left over. So Ginny's question is, I have a level 2 with a level 5 target. Is it best for me to use a level 11 with 60 volume as opposed to a level 5 with 30 volume? And what I'm going to say about that is it really depends on what you're trying to get and what your client's hair is like. If it's a client who has virgin hair, right, your level 5 with 30 or level 5 with 40 will get you the lift that you need, and it'll be a lot easier to get there. Once you start throwing in, color-treated hair, hair that's been treated with demi-permanence, layering of color, those kinds of things, you're better off using an 11 series with 60 to get the lift that you want, and then toning for the tonal result that you'd like. And again, it really depends on what you're looking for, how specific you want to be with what you want to get, as opposed to being okay with what you get when you just use, let's say, a 534 with a 40 volume or 534 with a 30 volume. Let me know if that answers your question, okay, Jenny? So the things to kind of remember here is that as levels rise, right, in the colors that you choose, the alkalinity rises. So the higher level color that you choose will determine how much lift you get. You know, one of the things that you guys know that we're sold all over the world, and so sometimes in different parts of the world, color is taught a little bit differently. In certain parts of Europe, you get your lift out of your color. So there's kind of like a color math that you do in order to get the lift that you want. And so, for example, if I'm a level 2 and I'm trying to get to a level 5, I would probably use, if I was trained like these European stylists were trained, I would probably use a level 10 with 20 or 30 volume. And my lift would be coming from the alkalinity in the color. So let me know if that makes sense. Like I don't recommend that you guys do that, but that's another way to think about it. And the way that you do that math is you pick your target, you double that target, and then you use the 20 volume to get to that level. So another thing to pay attention to is as your level rises, the amount of pigment decreases. And as we mentioned before, the amount of pigment decreasing means that you're going to have less power to counteract underlying pigment. That's why those amplifiers are there, for you to be able to put more pigment into it. Now, it's a catch-22, because if you put too much amplifier in, then what you're doing is you are lowering the level, because you're putting more pigment in, so you're lowering the max level that you're going to get to. So it's a fine line, and it really depends on your eye and what you're looking for. So as your level rises, you have to change your counteracting strategy based on what's going to be left for that particular client, whether it be me or whether it be my mom, who we both start with the same level 2 hair, but lift very, very differently. So controlling lifting. Proper timing and formulation is going to be your most important thing for you to get the best lift results that you can get. Like we look at this picture of this model here on the screen, you know, you are not going to get to a platinum blonde like this from a level 2. It's just not going to happen, especially in one session. And we've had that conversation with stylists before, where they think that if they leave the product on longer, that level 11, that they should get to a level 11 from a level 1, level 2, level 3. And we know, based on our experience of how the color is processing, what pigments are being pulled out, that the only thing that's going to happen at level 1, 2, and 3 is we may get up to like a level 5, level 6, but it's going to be really, really warm. Now, over time, you can do multiple applications or in the long term to get the results that you want. You know, you have a lot of clients that have very bleached hair, right? And, you know, we don't want to necessarily put 11.2 and 60 over that already bleached hair, but that new growth can definitely benefit from a better solution like an 11 series with 60, and then an overall toning of the color to give it a nice, beautiful platinum look. Now, The reason why we talk about dark hair and light hair, and I know you guys have seen this before, is because of the different kinds of melanin that's in the hair. And someone with dark hair is going to have a lot more eumelanin in there, which is going to be brown to black in color, and it's going to be harder to lift. And those with pheomelanin are going to have more yellowish red pigment in the hair, so it's going to be a lot easier to lift. Now, what's important to know about this is, and it's real simple. I mean, if somebody has dark hair and they come to you and they say they want to be platinum blonde, then immediately you should know I'm not going to be able to get them there with color. And it's going to be very difficult to get them to something really nice with bleach. So it's really about managing that client's expectations of where they're going to get, and then figuring out a plan on how you're going to get there, hopefully doing the least amount of damage that you can to the hair. Now, you guys are familiar with our lift formulas, right? It's an 11 series color with the 60 volume peroxide and up to 45 minutes of processing. Now, there's a little plus sign next to that 45 minutes because sometimes you need to process a little longer, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Now, again, the lift will depend on the color history and the starting level of the color. Now, the question that just came up, and I stepped back in, is at what natural level does pheomelanin exist? Now, you're going to have, again, remember that color is made up of all the primaries, right? So, and that's why you start to see the red and yellow undertone as you start lifting. So when you start pulling all that eumelanin out and you're getting into like the level 5 area, you start seeing how warm that color is. That's when you start seeing that pheomelanin in there. And that's when you should need that 37 green amplifier to counteract that red. As you get lighter into like your level 8s, level 9s, you see more of a yellowish and the red is gone. And that's when you need more of the blue amplifier into that formulation. Or you use the 11.2, which has the violet in there. Now, why do we say 45 minutes with a little plus sign next to it? Okay, I'll tell you that in 1 second because we got one more thing to see. Again, 11 series shade with amplifier and 60 volume, and again 45 up to 45 or plus minutes, and then lift depending on the color history, right, and where you're starting. Now, what happens sometimes is we see that a client, say we're doing foils on them, we'll do our application, we'll put them under heat, okay? It's one of the things you guys want to remember. Heat is going to give you better lift. The reason why heat is going to give you better lift is because it's going to help to open the cuticle up, okay? Now, we've had situations where, let's say we have a customer, they don't really tell us what's on their hair, but we're trying to put highlights in. And so we'll go ahead, we'll do either a test strand, or we'll do our foils, put her under heat, and then we'll come back and check after 15 minutes. Okay, and 15 minutes is going to be your first timing that you want to remember. At 15 minutes, what that means is let me pull her out of the heat. Right, I'm going to open up one of the foil packets. I'm going to dry it off a little bit so that I can see how the hair is lifting, and then I'm going to reapply some of that same formula in there and reclose the foil. Now, what happens when I look at that foil, right? Now, if it's lifting properly, then I'm okay. I can keep her out of the heat, and I can monitor it every 10 to 15 minutes just to get it to where I need to get it to. Because again, we don't necessarily want to get everyone to bleach white. that really depends on what is left existing in the hair and how it's all gonna fit in and look on the hair that's not being highlighted, right? So you want to take care to check your foils. Every 10 to 15 minutes is fine, just so that you can see where it's ending up. Now, let's say I check that foil and nothing has happened. It hasn't lifted. And there are situations, like I said, I mean, our clients, sometimes they don't know what's been put in their hair. Sometimes maybe something that isn't that bad has been put in the hair, but it's very, very difficult to lift the client. So in order to get that lift, you're going to need one of two things. You're either going to put them under heat for another 15 minutes and see how that helps in the process, or you can also reapply inside those foils another formula. Now again, you want to take care to be as professional as you can about diagnosing the hair itself, right? So if the hair is very stressed and if the hair is very damaged, then this probably isn't a process you want to be doing to the hair anyway. Some clients still want the impossible. So if you are going to do that, you have to manage their expectations of how much lift they're going to be able to get and where they're going to be able to get to. If they're using color and want to keep their hair as healthy as possible. Now, if for some reason, that isn't what they're looking for, then you have to resort to using the bleach. And like I said, we don't manufacture bleach, but it's because we basically, it's not our belief to get people to bleach platinum white, and we understand that that's what a lot of customers want. But for us, it's very difficult, if not near impossible, to be able to do that without damaging the hair. So that's why we don't make a bleach. So again, different things that you want to look out for. Always pay attention to the integrity of the hair, how it is, how it looks, how strong it is. Do your sample testing inside foils. It takes a few minutes, but you can definitely diagnose and figure out how a formula is going to act by just taking a few strands of hair, putting it in one foil, applying the formula you think is going to use, and then hitting that foil packet with a blow dryer and watching it lift. And with time, you start to realize how this customer's hair reacts to different formulations, and you're able to formulate very, very easily. So take that extra time at the beginning. I find it kind of interesting because at the beginning of this process, when you're talking to people about, let's say, switching their hair color, and they have questions about lifting and everything else, the focus is really on both ends, right? On the manufacturer's end, our focus is on the ease of use, right? So you can lift with color using 11.2 or 11.3 and 60 volume, and you're going to get a really nice lift. On the stylist end, their focus at the beginning is on speed. And as both of us go through this journey of us teaching you more and more about the color and how to use it, the stylist focus changes, and it changes to more about quality, which I wish was there from the beginning in our conversations, right? And why it switches to the focus of quality is because the stylist realizes all the different things that they can do with the color, but the sacrifice is time, right? So in order to get the best results, it will take more time than to get mediocre results. So that's just something interesting. So let's let's move over to Counteracting Yellow Undertone. Okay, so this is going to be the easiest of all of the things to do, right? When you're lifting into the lighter shades, you can add the 07 blue amplifier to cut yellow undertones in the outcome, right? Some stylists like a lot more control, so they'll use a combination of amplifier. They may use a little bit of 07 and a little bit of 22 violet amplifier, or they may use a little bit of 07 and a little bit of 37 green amplifier. But all those variations are basically based on their eye and what they're looking to achieve. And I think that that's one of the benefits of doing it this way, is that you can modify your formula to get the results that you and your client want, as opposed to just using an 11 violet to get a highlight. Our goal is always to get more natural looking blonde highlights as opposed to anything else. Yeah, sorry. We have a bird that is in the next room, and she can hear me in here, so she's trying to get my attention. Hold on one second, okay? Sorry about that. We're back. I moved PD into our kids' room, so that'll be better. You won't be able to hear her, I think. So where I was at, I think it's really important to get comfortable with your own aesthetic on what you're looking for when it comes to both highlighting and bringing people darker. Because if you get comfortable with what you like and start playing with the amplifiers, you're going to be able to get results that are even going to be different from one another, but it's going to be the aesthetic that you and your customer like. There's so many variations that you can do, just really based on the small percentages of colors that you can mix. I thankfully had like the privilege to meet a lot of really, really great colorists in the last few years that we've been promoting the Mastey tincture. And I have to tell you that there are just really specific nuances that people see with their eyes that even I might not be able to see, but they see it and they figure out formulas that not give them the result they want, but make them and their customers very, very happy. Guys, I hear. I guess I think someone's mic may be on, or it might just be the internet, but hopefully that sound goes away. So let's. I'm going to go ahead and. Hold on one second.
All attendees are muted.
So, let me know, guys, if you can still hear me on the left-hand side. I went ahead and muted everybody else from here, because that sound was weird. So, excellent. Now, counteracting red undertone, right? Now, when we're lifting again into our 4s and 5s, we're going to encounter a lot of red-orange undertone. The quick and easy way to counteract that is using our 11.2, 11.1, or 11.0 with 37 amplifier. And adding the amount of color that you use and matching that with the same amount of peroxide that you're going to use. So this is one of the things that tends to happen. Sometimes what stylists will do is they'll say, let's say they're using 60 milliliters or 2 ounces of, let's say, 11.1, and then they add a 1/4 ounce of 37 amplifier. They'll still only use 60 mLs or 2 ounces of 60 volume. And unfortunately, what happens there is that the extra amplifier actually cuts down the lift that you're going to get, because again, you're adding more pigment and diluting down the percentage of developer. Ginny, can you hear me now? Sound check. Okay, hold on.
All attendees are muted and may unmute themselves by pressing *6. All attendees are unmuted. Your line is now unmuted. Your line is now muted.
If you guys can do me a favor, there's a mute button right at the top of the screen where there's a microphone. There's the microphone, and it will mute you.
I turned my mic on. Your mic's on. Yeah, just turn it on by itself. You did it. And mine says that.
Excellent. Okay, let's do this. Excellent. It looks like everybody's muted. Cool. So for natural caramel looking highlights on darker bases, you really want to use like 11.0, 11.1, or 11.2 with 37. And you just want to make sure, as I was saying, that you use the same amount of peroxide as the total amount of color and amplifier that you use. So if your color and amplifier together makes up 2 1/4 ounces, make sure that you use 2 1/4 ounces of 60 volume. Because if you use 2 1/4 ounces of color and amplifier and only 2 ounces of 60 volume, that extra quarter ounce is actually going to limit the amount of lift that you get. So just make sure that you're always 1-to-1. Now, accentuating red undertone, right? Sometimes we want to put nice reddish or strawberry highlights in red hair, and we want to use the existing red undertone. So when lifting into the copper and the red shades, if you want to accentuate that, you can add 44 or 66 amplifier depending on what you're trying to get, right? And if you're just looking for a more natural lift, then what you can do is just use our 11.53 to lift in that, and you'll get more of a strawberry highlight as opposed to a white or yellow highlight in the red hair. So again, 2 ounces of 11.53 and 2 ounces of 18 volume peroxide or 18% peroxide, 60 volume, will give you some very, very nice results in those shades. So as you look at the last 3 that we looked at, right, we're looking at our blondes, our brunettes, and our redheads. It really comes down to what exactly you are looking for. And then once you use your formula, you always have the ability to tone them at the end. And this is another one of those things. When I talk to some stylists, they tone everyone, or they clear gloss or glaze everyone. And it wasn't that they started doing that. It's that they realized that just those extra little steps makes it so much nicer and makes it last so much longer. So for best results, when you're doing a lot of these things, you may want to think about toning or sealing in your colors. Now, when it comes to types of toners for your blondes, and for any kind of highlights really, you have a couple of different ways. We call pre-toning when you use the amplifiers in your formula to tone as you lift. And we definitely recommend that you always do that. It just gives you a lot more control as you're lifting, and it gives you the ability to get what you want. Now, the next thing that you can do is you can use Instantani as a toner by itself immediately after color in the bowl. And that's very simple to do. You would basically pick the Instantani that's going to counteract what you're looking to counteract, apply that in the bowl, let it sit, and then you're gonna rinse out. Next would be our glazing formula, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then next would be the tincture toner formula. Now, so why do we have so many different ways that you can tone, right? Well, because again, it depends on the outcome that you got from your lifting and the outcome that you're looking for in the final result, right? If I'm able to take Susie, my client, and lift her with just using an 11 series and an amplifier in her formula, and I'm happy with that result, then I'm done there. I don't need to do anything else. Sometimes, let's say I take Jane, and Jane, I get the lift that I want, but there's just a little bit of yellow in there, right? Then I may need that Instantani to tone that yellow out, but it's not too bad. So that's why I can use just Instantani, and it would be all right. Now, if I'm trying to seal that in for longer, I'm going to use a glazing formula, because that's going to allow the Instantani molecules to tone, and then the clear gloss that's in that formula to go ahead and seal the color out and have it last longer. Now, if for some reason it's really off from the result that I want to get, then I need the power of a toner formula that still has some permanent color in there to correct where things may have gone wrong. So these are the different steps and the different times that you can use them. So again, the glazing formula, it's a 1-to-1 mix of clear gloss and your desired tone and instantane, right? So if, again, the processing for it is going to be, I'd say about 15 to 20 minutes. And you can use heat in that if you wanted to really seal that color in. At this point, though, again, when you're using a glaze, you're not just toning it out, but you're also sealing that color in. So it's going to look a lot shinier. It's going to last a lot longer by doing that process. And you guys are familiar with the tincture toner formulas. It's basically 2 ounces of instantane, 1 ounce of 10 volume, and 1 ounce of tincture. And when you're doing these toners, it's important to really remember how much pigment is going to be inside each of those colors that you're choosing, right? If you try and tone with an 11, I would tone with an 11 only if what I was trying to counteract was very, very slight. If there was a lot more yellow than I wanted in the hair, then I would definitely use a 9.2 to tone instead of an 11.2. And my reasoning for that would be that there is more pigment in that 9.2 than there is in that 11. So that's going to be able to help me counteract that yellow. So hopefully that all makes sense. Now, the other thing that you can do with your 11s when we're talking about lifting is getting our clients back from the hair mistakes that they've made. For example, if your hair, if they've taken their hair and dyed it black with box dye, or there's a lot of clients that want that look now, and then 6 months from now are going to be saying they want to be blonde again. Decolorizing the right way is really important. The formulation for it is practically the same. I mean, you're looking at an 11 series shade with 60 volume developer, because that's, again, look what you're trying to do. You're trying to lift out color. So your 11 is going to have the most alkalinity, and your 60 volume is going to be your strongest developer. So you're going to lift as much as you can out. And when you apply it, you're going to check the color every 5 to 10 minutes while processing under heat. And you're checking it for a few things. One, you're checking the lift, and one, you're checking the integrity of the hair, right? The lift is going to depend on the type of color that is in the hair to lift out. And it can be used on ends as well to lift those colors out as well. Now, that's the formula. But what about the procedure, right? One of the things that you want to make sure is that you remember is that the hair that's at the top of your head, that's at the roots, right, your new growth, is going to lift a lot quicker than anything else that's on the ends. So this is kind of like you're going to apply this the opposite of applying a gray coverage formula, right? You're going to want to look at that hair and pick about 1/8 above the roots or where the gray is, and then start applying that through the ends. And you want to make sure that you apply that product very, very quickly. Now, once you see that color starting to lighten, then you want to be ready. You want to have the mix ready so that you can do your roots. Now, if your end result is blonde, you don't want to apply that mixing formula until you see it really starting to lighten up. And if your end result is light brown to dark blonde, you want to wait until you see the red-orange undertone in that hair so that you can apply your roots. Because it really has to do with how long that color at the roots is going to be on to make sure that it matches what you're going to get at the ends. And you know, the process is, your results are going to vary a lot based on what's on that hair and that client, and they're going to definitely be individual. And the amount that you're going to be able to lift isn't really going to be determined by the formula at all. I mean, because you're picking an 11 and 60 volume. I mean, that's really it. It's really going to be determined by what's on the hair type of the person, and even the temperature. And one of the things that you want to do is you want to make sure that you remind your client that what they're trying to do is really a process that's going to take definitely more than one application over a longer period of time. So, you know, getting them 2 levels lighter this month, and then progressively working towards being lighter in the coming month, is definitely a lot better for the hair than stripping all of that out with bleach. But again, you know, it really comes down to your client base and what they want. And sometimes you just have to use a traditional deoxidizer or bleach. Now, okay. So now, ensuring the perfect color. Now, you guys know this already, and it doesn't change for when you're doing highlights. I mean, you want to have proper preparation and formulation. You want the application to be good. You want to make sure that there's enough color, and you want to take care to make sure that it's on long enough and that you rinse it out properly. Now, when purifying the hair, one of the things you want to keep in mind is that heat will help to open the cuticle up. So using water that's warmer than normal, not necessarily hot water, but warmer than you normally would, will help to open up that cuticle while you're purifying it, and leave it open while you apply your color. So, you know, it's that same thing where your roots, because of the heat from your own scalp, it's easier to lift that part of the hair. You want to get the rest of that hair to be at a temperature where you can take advantage of the open cuticle to get more of that bad pigment out. Now, if the hair is extremely damaged, you definitely would want to repair it. This is the part where you want to remember that your hair is dead, right? And so if all the nutrients are gone from it, it's not like the skin, where the skin can continue to produce melanin to protect it, right, and to fight the damage. It's already dead. The body's not going to give it any more melanin. Once the hair is damaged and it's been depleted of all that melanin and those nutrients, you have to act like the skin and start putting those protein bonds and that pigment back into the hair. Okay. Of course, you guys are familiar with the color protecting products. We are recommending that you start using these. The restorative mask is very interesting. Normally, when you look at this, if you're using the classic Mastey products, you're using the Use Me First, the Super Pack, and the Moisture. What we've done with the restorative mask is really balance the amount of repairing and moisturizing that it does. So now you're able to do in one treatment what you would have had to do in 2 treatments, the treatment of Super Pack and Moisture. And then you have 2 different ways to take care of the hair after color and before styling, which would be the oil treatment or the therapy spray. But it's really, really important to repair that overprocessed and damaged hair before you start doing your really good work. Again, Clean, thin sectioning is important. Sections that are thin enough to see through. That's gonna make it so that the proper amount of product is actually on the hair, right? So using thin sections and using enough product is going to make the lift a lot easier, as well as the deposit a lot easier. And then again, emulsifying the color at the end to ensure a soft and shiny result. You want to make sure that you're always emulsifying that color to break it down and get all of that color out. Again, if for some reason you feel that the hair is dull or does not feel super soft or look very shiny, there's still color in that hair. You need to get it back in the bowl and rewash. Now, when it comes to your formulations for semi-permanence and toning, what you want to remember is we're adding in the Instantani, and I think that you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on the left hand side in there, but I think that you guys get the tincture Instantani connection and how they work and the differences that you get from just using one to using both. But so that you can see what these formulas look like, right? Again, pre-toning with the amplifiers, very, very simple. We went through that. Your glazing formulas, either using the color gloss or using the toner formula, again, is gonna depend on your need, like how strong you need it to be. Again, worst case scenario, you use the one that's on the screen, which is the tincture Instantani and 10 volume, right? If it's not too bad and you want to add a little bit of longevity to it, you can use the glazing formula that we talked about earlier. Do we have any questions on the high lift before we start to move on? Yeah. So let's talk about tint backs. So tint backs, when you think about it, is really lifting in reverse, right? So when we're lifting, we're pulling out all that pigment in a specific order. We're taking out the blues, we're taking out the reds, we're taking out the yellows. When we're tinting back, it's our job to play nature to ensure the results and do it in reverse, right? Because maybe there's some yellow left, but we have to put in our reds and we have to put in our blues, and then we have to make it look very natural and vibrant. Now, again, remember, the skin, when the sun destroys the melanin in your skin reacts by putting more melanin into that area. And by putting more melanin into that area, it makes the skin darker. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the skin and we're going to put more pigment into the hair. And putting more pigment into the hair and the right kinds of pigments are going to make it so that not only do we get a beautiful color, but we get a color that lasts as long as we need it to last. So we want to remember blue, red, and yellow is going to give us brown. And no matter what, as we talked about earlier, we are always looking for brown, right? So we're going to go through this formula in 1 second. I hope that you guys, I think you guys realize this. As I look at the progression that you guys have gone through, a lot of this information crosses over completely, from gray coverage to formulation to high lift and now tint backs. It's all knowledge that is 100% interchangeable and can all help each other. So then the questions become, what are the next challenges? But what's important is that all the knowledge that you've used can help you figure out how to solve those challenges to come. Now, talking about tint backs, right? Now, if you are going to dye anyone's hair back more than 2 levels, it's really important that you play the role of nature and put blue, red, and yellow back into the hair. And I'm going to explain why. Sometimes when I talk to stylists and I ask them about tint packs, they say, well, I'll just use my dark color and I'll put it on there. And the thinking makes sense, because you would think that at that lower level, it does have blue, it does have red, and it does have yellow, so it should work. And it does. It works when you're in the salon. The problem is that it fades out very, very quickly. And that's with any color line. You're going to have, if you take a bleach blonde and turn her into a level 5, and you don't use some sort of dye back process, you're going to have a color that's going to fade out very, very quickly. So the thing to do is, and it's similar to what we do when we do our gray coverage, right? It's a little more detailed and a little more formulaic. We've created these tint back formulas that you can use. Now, what we use for our blue is our natural. What we use for our red is our 0.6 red, and what we use for our yellow is our 0.3 gold. And then we always recommend that if you're tinting somebody back, you want to have warmth in the hair. And so we recommend our chocolates as the tint back target. Could you use a different target? Definitely you could. You would just switch that color out, but you would want to pay attention to what result you're going to get from the color that you put in there, right? And if your client is going to be happy with that result. Some people think that they want an ash result, but then when they do it, they feel like it's too ashy. It makes even their skin look more ashy, kind of drowned out. And what's important is that, especially when you're coming back from being blonde, that you have some warmth in the hair, so that there's still a vibrancy and so that it's not dull, because you're coming from something that was a lot, let's say, lighter than the darkness that you're going to get now. So again, the way that we would recommend would be 7.0, a half an ounce, 7.6, a quarter of an ounce, 7.3, a half an ounce, and then 1 ounce of our target shade, which in this case is the 7.34 chocolate. And we're going to use the 10 volume developer to deposit, and we're going to use 2 1/4 ounces of that. And we're going to go ahead and process that for 45 minutes. Now, again, that's my target level is 7, and it's from level 10 and up, so level 10, 11, and even my platinum white blondes. A question came up as far as amplifier. Now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create the right combination of blue, red, and yellow in there, but also have the depth that we need. So let's say we could use, like if we wanted to, we could use like the 33 amplifier for gold, the 66 amplifier for red, and the 07 amplifier for blue, and mix those. And we'll get a shade of brown. However, remember the amplifiers have no level base, so we won't get the depth that we need. So what we try to do is make sure that we get the depth that we need, and that's why we choose to go with actual colors instead of the amplifier, because we're looking for the depth. Now, when you look at, let's say, going from a level 9 down to a level 6, right? Now, this is 9 or higher, right? So 9 or higher means, let's say I'm a level 10 or a level 11, and I'm trying to get to a level 6. I'm going to need not only my red, yellow, and blue, but I'm also going to need my depth. So that's why, interesting question Haley put up, is 4.6 a typo? Well, it's not. We're using the extra depth that we get from the darkness in the 4.6 to help to keep that hair where it needs to be. So again, I mean, if you look at it, if you look at this one, and then I'm going to step back real quick to the previous one, level 7, right? There's not much difference except for I'm going down a level in my blue, yellow, and my target, and I'm choosing the 4.6 as my red. Okay, again, remember, it's only quarter of an ounce, so it's not going to modify it so much in the total other 2 ounces of color that are in there, but it's going to give me my red and it's going to give me my depth that I need to get a really, really beautiful color. When we go down to level 5, right? Hold on one second. So when you go to level 5, now you're going level 8 and above, so this could still be a level 10 that's trying to be a level 5. You're going to use the same thing, 5.0 for blue, 4.6 for red, 5.3 for yellow, and 5.34 as the target. Now, Haley, your question is, what would you do in regards to my previous question? Go with the lower level. I'm sorry, Haley, I had missed that question. Okay. Okay. So, go back. So your question is getting to this level, getting to 7, right? And for what you're trying to do, what you would want to do, because you want more of a bright copper or bright red result, you can modify your target level to get that look that you are looking for. So as long as you pick a level 7 or a level 8, as long as you pick a level 7 or a level 8 in the tone that you're looking for, the blue, red, and yellow is going to help to fill, and then your target color is going to give you the result that you need. Now, it's interesting that you say fill. Like, sometimes when I talk to stylists, they say that when they do tint packs, they'll basically dye the hair like an orange color first, and that's replacing in their red and yellow, and then they'll dye the hair with the target color. And basically what we're doing is the same thing. It's just that we're doing it with our formula and we're doing it in one process. So I hope that, let me know, Haley, if that answered your question. Okay, cool. Excellent. Now, and then the lowest you want to go is your 4.0, 4.6, 4.3, and 4.34. Right? And that's going to give you your level 4 coming from anywhere as much as like a level 10 down to a level 7 all the way down to a level 4. Processing time, like I said, it's always going to be 45 minutes. And it's pretty formulaic. Again, like we said with Haley's question, change your target level out if you want. Just try and keep it on the warmer end of the spectrum, because that's where your clients are going to see the best results. So these green sheets are available as well. If you guys like, I can send you a link to them. they're good to have in a book or, posted in the back. And once you start doing them a lot, you get them to memory pretty quickly. You just want to remember excellence. So I will go ahead and I'll provide the link for you guys. And like I said, play with the target levels and you will be fine. So I want you guys to actually take a minute to realize how smart you guys are now when it comes to our color. I mean, you guys were definitely smart beforehand, for sure, the way that you picked this up. But how smart you are now when it comes to using this color that, 8 months ago maybe wasn't something that you were too proficient with. But now it's something that you're smart enough to know what questions you need to ask yourself. And you're smart enough to know that there's no one solution to a problem. It's really coming to the solution that's right for you and your customer. In talking to you guys and in seeing your books that you put together, you're smart enough to find the answers to the questions that you want to ask yourself. I mean, that's one of the biggest things, I think, when we talk to stylists on like the helpline. Some of the questions that they have, it's not because they don't know it, it's because they don't know what question to ask themselves, because when we ask them the question, they answer it for themselves. And you guys have crossed over to this level of knowledge that you guys know what to ask yourself and how you work through it. And it's just like Ginny says, it's like a treasure hunt, and you guys are doing really, really great at it. I think that you guys should have a lot of pride in everything that you've done and gone through for this period that you've been training. This is the last module, and it's just the final that's left. And I want to say how proud I am of you guys, because you've really embraced this process and what you've learned, and I can see from talking to you guys how excited you guys are about it. So it really makes me proud that I was part of this journey for you guys. I respect you guys a lot for being able to do it, because you're not only doing this, but you're working on your career, doing your business, and at the same time, you take the time to better your knowledge, and I respect that a great, great deal. And I'm very grateful for you guys. It has been a pleasure walking you through what I've walked you through, but a great pleasure seeing you guys start to run and do the things that you're doing. I'm grateful that you had trust in us to not only try the color, but also trust in us to walk through this experience with us. And I hope that in the future that you guys will share your experiences with people and let them know how you have progressed through this whole thing. And so now to the final. You're going to want to. There's 2 parts to the final. They're actually kind of fun. I would recommend. It's probably easiest to do this with not with your clients, but with people that you may know who are not your clients, or maybe even an ad on Craigslist or in the local paper, to find 3 models that you would like to do makeovers for. You'd have to get a signed model release form for them. If you guys have those for your salon, you can use those. Or if you'd like and you don't have a model release form, we can get you those as well. You can use ours. You'd want to take their before picture, and then you want to explain how you would like to complete a makeover for them. Now, the makeover would involve not only a color, but also a cut to showcase, your style, your aesthetic, and of course your clients. I mean, one of the things that we do a little bit differently than a lot of manufacturers at the trade shows is we really want to make sure our models are happy with their look, because when they leave us, to go back to their salon or to go back to their regular hairdresser or what have you, we're not there anymore to do the upkeep and all that. And so we just want to make sure that what we do is something that they'll love, that they can keep up, and that looks good on them, right? We'd like you to photograph the results, and we want to make sure that you take notes of your color formula, any kind of color technique or cutting technique that you use, and then what we'll do is we will provide replacement product for you for the product that you do use for the models. Okay, so it is a commitment, because you are investing your time into these 3 people, but hopefully it will help 3 people to feel a lot better about themselves, and then at the same time help you to showcase everything that you've learned and everything you can do. The deadline, Haley, I leave it up to you guys. I don't want it to be something that you have to rush through during the holidays. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. I leave the deadline up to you, but it really depends on when you have time and you want to finish. Again, this one is not necessarily something that you have to do as part of this final, but when I was talking to someone, we had this idea. My wife and my daughter work with a charity out here called Maria's Birthday Wishes for the Homeless. And as a family, we try and help out with this charity as much as we can. Her premise is really simple, that her goal, Maria's goal, is to deliver birthday cupcakes to anyone who's having a birthday in a homeless shelter across the United States. Right now, she has shelters in about 5 different states, and it's a really, I think, a heartwarming thing that she's doing, because at a moment where maybe someone believes that everyone has forgotten about them, someone remembers their birthday. So I thought that was really nice. And so in thinking about these finals, this isn't a requirement or anything like that, but I know that in different parts of the country, there are like battered women's shelters for women looking to get back on their feet, back out into the workforce. A makeover for one of them might be really beneficial. Again, I don't know if there are any of those places near you guys, or if that's something that you guys would want to do, but think about it. And then the final part 2. This one is a little bit harder, I think, but really a lot of fun. What we'd like you to do is to build your own presentation to teach the most important things or your favorite concepts that you learn from all of the modules. Again, you can pick your own time limit. And that means you can take however much time you want in order to finish this, but you can also pick how long you want it to be. So sometimes I get to talking and I'm looking at the clock right now and I've been talking for like an hour and a half. So it's a long time. But you can do a lot in 30 minutes. So just think about the concepts that you would want to talk about, how you've learned them, what they mean to you, and then develop a small outline for a class that you would teach. Use your personal experience to give examples and communicate your points. One of the things that I talked to Ginny about last week is how your formula charts that you guys made, your books that you made for your clients, are a great thing that you may want to look at. I mean, your class could really be just about converting from a line into Mastey. This is how you do it. This was our experience. This is how we did it. Once you've completed your outline, you can develop your 30-minute to 1-hour presentation, whatever you want it to be. If you want to do visual aids, that's great. You can do them on paper, you can do them on a computer, whatever you want. And then if you can give that class, whether it be 30 minutes or an hour, and just videotape that with an iPhone or your Android phone, whatever, that's the submission of the final exam. So at the end of the day, you've got 3 makeovers and then your 30-minute to 1-hour class that you submit from your iPhone, and that's it. I hope it sounds fun. It sounds pretty cool. I think it's really good. I think I'm going to leave you with a lot of responsibility, and it's something that I think that you guys saw in the first class that we did. We have it in all of our first classes, and it's this thing about not being a snake oil salesman, right? Right now, and I think that you guys will understand this for sure. There are a lot of people out there that can't use certain kinds of products, and there are a lot of people out there who choose to just use quote-unquote organic type products. And what we never want to do, and we would never want you to do as a representation of us and of yourself and your community, is to be a snake oil salesman. There is no such thing as an organic permanent hair color. A lot of the times people use that word to mean like healthier or more natural or what have you. But those words and those designations mean a lot, and it's important for you to know. Just recently, I actually called a salon that was using a competitor's product and asked them about the organic product that they were using, and it was eye-opening to see how much they didn't know about what they were using. And not that I educated them on it or anything. I mean, all I did was ask questions, but they couldn't answer those questions, and really just couldn't really give the right amount of information for someone who, let's say they had a problem, they wouldn't get enough information to know if a product was safe for them to use. So again, there's only 2 designations of organic, and if those 2 little symbols, if you don't see that on something, then it's not. And the reason why all this is important, again, I mean, and I think you guys have seen this too, is that the people that come into our lives and are looking for this kind of product, there's a reason why they're looking for this kind of product. It's not a mainstream kind of product yet where, everybody wants, ammonia-free color or PPD-free color or organic color or natural color. The people who are in search of that, they are in search of it because they have some sort of issue. And so it's important for us, especially because we're touching them, and especially for you guys. I mean, you guys are touching them every day in their lives. It's important to make sure that we know what we're talking about, that we keep their health and their best interest and our own health and best interest in mind. And I know that you guys will. And again, I'm really, really proud and happy that you guys went through this. And I look forward to getting your makeovers and your videos. So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. And oh, awesome. And so I just got a thing from Haley. You guys can read it there. That so was that using the Bruce formula? Okay. What formula did you guys end up using on Liz? Okay. Cool. So excellent. I'm glad that it worked. I'm really glad that it worked. Half red, half amplifier. Excellent. So it was able to give you the vibrancy and color that you needed for those roots. Sweet. Awesome. Excellent. If you have a picture of that, shoot one over or put it up on Facebook. And then you know, I look forward to getting your stuff when you guys have time, and I wish you guys a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays. And if you guys have any questions at all, please call me on my cell phone, okay? Thanks very much, guys. Oh, yes, definitely. And I will get you the dates for California. And hopefully it will be sunny, and the roller coaster park will be open. Thank you, guys. You guys have a wonderful day.